This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we're very fortunate tonight to have as our guests two of the great leaders of the Alabama Community College system, David Walters and Chris Cox. And David's become one of my best friends in recent years, and Chris is a longtime ally of the community college system, and he lives over in Auburn, and David lives in Prattville. They both are leaders for Jimmy Baker's crew over there at the community college system, and what a great job they are doing. I'm talking about, this is one heck of an organization. I've written about this in the last couple of years, that the community college system, to me, has become the crown jewel of Alabama higher education, because it actually educates Alabama students, and it gets them jobs. They have jobs waiting for them. But Chris is a long-time employee of the community college system, lives over there at Auburn. Chris, good to have you on the show.
Great to be here. I appreciate you having us, Steve.
Well, thank y'all for doing this. I want to get our viewers to talk about what all y'all do and how many schools there are. And I may let David start off with this. David is like the right-hand man for Jimmy Baker over there at the community college system, and he is wearing about 4 hats, I think. And he does a great job at all 4 of them. He and I get to be buddies, and I'm going to let him start off and tell us just the basics. People don't realize how many schools there are, and how many students y'all educate, and the things y'all do, and how much it means to the state. Even this most recent workforce development thing that the governor and lieutenant governor and the Senate leadership has come out with, talks about, you know, how important the community college system is.
Right.
David, start off, just tell us some kind of things about, our viewers all know about the whole system and everything.
Well, Steve, first of all, thank you for allowing Chris and I to be here. And certainly Chancellor Baker has a lot of right hands, and certainly Chris and others are just as important or more important than I am. But certainly I love the opportunity to get a chance to talk with you and share with you the excellent things we're doing in the community college system. Certainly what the people don't understand is that we're throughout the state of Alabama. In every community, you're touched in some form or fashion by a community college. You know, we're within probably 20 miles of any community in the state of Alabama. And then we also have adult education, which is a part of the community college system, where we have over 400 locations throughout the state. We have 24 community colleges.
24 campuses.
That's right, and we've got multiple campuses, 24 colleges, but multiple campuses across the state. And certainly we're providing services from workforce development services, education, skills training, adult basic education, all the way up to academics, which Chris is over, the 2-year transfer and so forth. And Chris certainly will get into that in a few minutes. But do a lot with dual enrollment in our high schools. And then we help communities out there. We got a lot of things going on in the communities where we help with litter pickup events and those type of things to really make our communities where we live and work even better for our members and our citizens. So certainly we're involved in a lot of different things that people don't realize. Prison education, certainly we're involved in that. We work very closely with the Department of Corrections and Pardons and Parole to work with inmates, and certainly ones that are getting released, to get them into skill training that lead to good, sustainable employment. And then we also work with Alabama Department of Human Resources. We work with them with TANF and SNAP clients, helping individuals get off of public assistance and get into good, skilled training jobs that will pay a living.
That's great. David, what would be the 5, if you had to think, yes, ballpark, the 5 largest locations? I know Calhoun up in Decatur, Huntsville would be biggest, wouldn't it? It's really their only university. Yeah. And in that area that's right there. So it's got to be the biggest, isn't it?
Well,
academically it is, college-wise, isn't it, Chris?
Well, them and Jeff State.
That's what I was going to say. Jeff State.
As far as normal, what you think matriculation, as far as going 2 years then transferring to another university, 4-year university, Jeff State and Calhoun sort of concentrated in that more than anything. The way that people sometimes thought, well, I'll go 2 years to my local community college and I'll transfer to Auburn or Alabama. Or
There is a lot of that, but I will tell you, they're also doing a lot of the workforce stuff and the
That's
career
right.
technical education stuff. I
they've
mean,
got to, as big as Huntsville's growing.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. They're
I
working
don't
to
care
meet the
what
needs.
the enrollment is at Calhoun now.
Hey,
what is it?
almost 10,000 at both
That's what
of
I was
those.
thinking.
Statewide, we're going to serve through all programs close to 150,000, maybe a little more
Yep.
each year.
And
Absolutely.
95% of those Alabamians.
That's exactly
That's right.
And they got a job, 95% of them waiting
They-
for them.
That's right.
They are getting jobs.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Chris, now talking about back to Calhoun, are y'all like project long term? You got to project it's not only going to be the biggest, but it's got the most potential for growth because Huntsville's booming.
Yes.
They've got to have. What are they training people for those jobs up there?
Well,
What?
they're in from cybersecurity, so computer information science,
right.
to
IT.
mechatronics, and for industry. I mean, so they're going down as far as welding all the way up to pre-engineering stuff and preparing. But we also have in Huntsville Drake Community College. So we have, Calhoun has a campus there in Huntsville and Drake, and between the two of them, they just do a really good job, and they are
certainly do.
growing. They're because the city is growing, they're growing with them and working well with the K-12, and dual enrollment's taking off up there. So
I hadn't even thought about Drake. Drake's actually in Huntsville.
that's exactly
is.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now going around our area here around Montgomery, and over near where you live in Auburn, that community college has always flourished over there in Auburn.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
Southern Union.
Southern Union, yeah.
Yeah.
What's their enrollment?
They run around 5,000 per semester.
Now
so
they do have a lot of transferring to Auburn, don't they?
lots of transfer. They've got some great partnerships with Auburn. You'll read some about the pathways to the plains.
Yeah.
They've done a real good job of that program where students can go to Southern Union, and it's a seamless transition right into Auburn University.
They're usually from around that area, Chambers and Lee and those counties around there where most of the enrollment is probably.
I would say at most is, but they also get a large contingent of folks that want to come to Southern Union and live in that region of the state, but enjoy the lifestyle of an Auburn student. So,
That's right.
Yeah, so
Now they would be more higher ed matriculation than. There's not as much technical there at that one, is there?
Well, they still do a lot of
They do.
technical skill training as well, Steve. They certainly do.
Since you're from Prattville and live here in Montgomery area, tell me the ones in Montgomery, MacArthur.
Well, we have Trentham,
Not Trentham,
Trentham State here in Montgomery. and
Montgomery's
then
that up, yeah.
certainly Central Alabama Community College over at Alex City is actually in Prattville now.
What
So
is their enrollment?
CAC, they're probably around, if Southern Union's, what,
They're about
5,000, so I'd say
2,000,
about 2,500. That's what I was getting ready to say, Chris, about 2,500 to 3,000. They keep growing because Prattville certainly is one of those areas that's growing.
Yeah.
And then we've got Wallace Selma, certainly in Selma, Alabama, that covers a lot of area, and then on up into Shelton. So they kind of cover the area here. We've got Reed down south, right down below Montgomery. So a lot of potential of individuals getting education and skills training, academic transfer, whatever they want within the river region and throughout the state.
Now, for a long time, you had some time at Shelton.
yes.
Is Shelton doing sort of the same way Southern Union? Shelton's bigger than Southern Union, though, isn't it?
Real close in size, maybe a little larger, but real close in size. That is, when we would compare data, we would want to compare ourselves to Southern Union because we both were in university towns,
Yeah.
pretty much. So very comparable.
Prior to going on the show, you and I were discussing, I was reading this morning's Tuscaloosa News about them getting a large grant. Now,
Yes.
were y'all responsible for getting that? It's going to Shelton, I think, for nursing, isn't it?
It's for nursing, and we got a lot of folks to thank for that. Kind of headed up, Senator April Weaver kind of helped us with getting that grant. And
So it was a state grant, not a
it's
federal grant.
state grant.
Oh, it was a state money.
State
$3
money,
million, okay.
and we had all of our colleges basically put in for that grant. It was $31 million statewide. Shelton got almost $3 million, and what that grant is allowing to happen is expanding workforce in health science. So what's really neat is at Bibb Medical Center.
That's what I was wondering, how she represents Bibb and Chilton.
That's right.
So she really don't have Tuscaloosa, so she was looking after her Bibb County. It's tied in that Bibb County Hospital. Then.
That falls under Shelton's service area. So now we have students that are able to take the LPN nursing program on site at Bibb Medical Center. So a great partnership, and it's just something that I think we're going to see in rural Alabama. We're going to have to start taking some of these things to rural Alabama to get more students educated and trained and ready to go to the workforce.
That is a great thing. So that was a state grant.
Yes, sir. We're very thankful for it.
Speaking of grants and programs and everything, we mentioned the workforce development thing. I hope we have time to get into that. Y'all may not know much about it because it was just introduced. But there's a new program we were going to talk about that's just come out, and it's what is that now that we were going to talk about that?
Yeah, I think Chris can give you the details of it, but I think it's the roadmap program, Chris.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So we've introduced, actually got some legislation carried by
This year or last year?
This year. Hadn't passed. We're hoping it passed. We're still kind of hammering it out, but we have Senator Donnie Chastain sponsoring that bill for us.
From your native Geneva County?
That's right. And
his daddy may have coached you.
well, no.
He may have.
Donnie Chastain actually did.
He
did. But and then we got Senator Singleton's a coach.
So Chastain coached you.
He
so
did.
You worked with him on getting that legislation.
Yeah, and it's really good. We're working with all the partners and basically trying to get more post-secondary training into our high schools. A lot of research does show that if students get post-secondary training in high school, they're much more likely to complete a program and go into the workforce. And obviously right now, Chancellor Baker challenged us is how can we help with labor force participation and getting the career roadmap and getting students at a young age into post-secondary training so they can see what's out there for them. So, and that may be with us through the community college, but if they want to go to Alabama, Auburn, Alabama State, it doesn't matter as long as they're getting into some A+, if they're taking AP, whatever it may be, we just want the student to be successful.
Chastain coach. His daddy was a great coach from legendary. You went to Geneva High School?
I went to Geneva. Of course, Coach is from he is from Hartford, so.
But he coached at Geneva.
He coached at Geneva. He was a great coach. Coach.
Like his daddy did. His daddy was a coach for him. You know that, don't you?
Oh, he was coach at Hartford.
Oh, okay.
Hartford.
His daddy was coach
County.
at okay.
Geneva County.
His daddy was coach at Hartford, but Donnie was.
At
His
Geneva.
state senator was coach at Geneva.
At Geneva, yes, sir.
Do you know, I wrote a column about Fernie Johnson, the famous orthopedic surgeon from Dothan, about 6 months ago, and I heard from everybody in the Wiregrass about that. Donnie called me the day it came out and says, Fernie Johnson fixed my arm when I was a high school quarterback in high school, and but he has been a real ally of Chancellor Baker's.
Yes, sir.
He really has been a stalwart. Chastain is.
He is.
He really is. I mean, every time I pick up a paper and look around, he's always thinking, and I think Chancellor Baker told me he can always count on him to help him.
Well, you know, Senator Chastain's an educator at heart, so
Exactly.
he understands the good that comes out of education, but also the challenges, and so yeah, he's been a good supporter of ours.
Now, what school would be covering? There's Wallace and Dothan there. There's Wallace and Dothan. I bet they're really heavy but they have merged. Is that Linda Young's
That's
school?
President Young.
Okay,
yes.
Linda.
I think you know Linda.
Yeah,
don't
real
you,
well.
Steve?
Yeah, Linda does Dothan, and they merged with. She took up the aviation and the one in Eufaula, didn't she? Into her thing, isn't it? All in one thing.
She has Eufaula, but aviation is actually under Enterprise.
Okay,
right.
that's right.
Oh,
That's
no.
right. Aviation now is under Enterprise.
That's right.
But I bet you that's really what they concentrate on, getting fixing those helicopters and all.
Oh yeah.
That's a good paying job when they get
sir.
out.
Yes, sir.
Do they have like a degree in aviation training? Is that what it's called?
Avionics,
Yes.
or you know, they get basically become a aircraft mechanic.
Mechanic,
And
yeah.
you know, they're going to start out at $30 an hour, you know.
One of my best friends, Warren Kelly, who lives in Hartford, but runs a nursing home in Troy. He's about your age. He's about 50, 51 years old, maybe 52. His son is going to that school.
Okay.
And he says, Steve, I guarantee you that he'll get out with that avionics degree and he'll make more money than he would if he was practicing law. Do you know that?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Lawyers
job.
now are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
But mechanics are hard, it's
They're
about
hard
Oh,
to
yeah.
come by.
They really are.
They
I mean,
are.
and I think the world is realizing the future is where y'all are.
Yeah.
That's the future of this state.
It's about skills.
It's about
Steve.
skills.
It's about skills.
I mean, you
Yeah.
can't, and that's why the governor and them are coming with this
right.
workforce development thing, and it's really taking a page. If you sit down and have a conversation with Chancellor Baker, which y'all do all the time, I was having one day with him, he's way ahead of the curve. They're saying things he was saying to me 2 or 3, 4 years ago.
Right.
About the idea, you can't take the employment figures. That doesn't tell the true story. He said, we've got people who our people aren't working.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't show up on the chart. And that's where y'all are heading.
Yeah. It's the labor force participation rate, Steve.
Yeah, that's exactly
In
right.
Alabama right now, it's 57%, which means 43% of the working age is not working, but they should be working. So how do we get them back engaged in the workforce?
Exactly. That's that is exactly where he was. I remember him telling me that. Almost like I remember having a conversation with Senator Shelby one time. He and I are good friends, and we were sitting having dinner together 10 years ago, and he was talking about. He says, what I'm going to do before I leave the U.S. Senate. He said, I'm going to widen and deepen that port in Mobile. He started working on it 10 years before it came to fruition. Then he became chairman of Senate Appropriations, and he got the money to redoing the port in Mobile because of Senator Shelby, and he got about $500 million for it. I mean, when you're chairman of Senate Appropriations, you write the federal budget, and so he loaded Alabama up those last 4 years. And one of the things he did was he knew he was going to do that. He planned 10 years ahead. The same way Jimmy Baker is planting seeds on this what is evolving, and legislators are beginning to realize exactly, where the road. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the jobs are. I mean, I'm not far off by saying that avionics, and Warren's not, by saying that avionics major at the aviation school in Ozark won't start making more than a lawyer.
It's going to be $30 an hour plus. I can tell you that. They'll do well
Yeah.
with opportunities probably for overtime. So.
And the thing about it is that's a lifetime career too.
That's right.
It's a lifetime career.
Well, now nurses are in the same.
Oh yeah.
They can about name their price. It seems like.
I bet that Wallace has a big nursing program down there.
Huge nursing program.
What about down in Mobile? Now, is there Bishop down there? What, anything besides Bishop? Is Bishop the
Bishop's-
only school in Mobile?
Yes, it's Mobile, and then you got the surrounding areas by coastal.
Coastal.
Oh,
community
Coastal. I
colleges.
bet Coastal's growing in because the Baldwin.
Coast, Baldwin
Now, I
County.
got a friend that's president of that school. Who's president of that school?
Oh, the current president?
Uh-huh.
He's a former superintendent and good friend with Chris.
Aaron Milner.
Aaron Milner.
Yes,
and he's
I know him.
a wonderful guy. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
wonderful guy.
I bet that's got a heck of an enrollment, doesn't it?
They've got they're probably in the top 3 as far as enrollment,
Yeah.
close to 10,000.
They'd be behind Jeff State and Calhoun then.
That's right.
Because of the population.
Population.
That's what it counts.
And Steve, if you look at it, our community colleges have grown year after year over the last 3 or 4 years since COVID. They've grown in enrollment, and they've really bucked the trend nationally. So nationally, a lot of community colleges have seen a dip in enrollment. We have not in the state of Alabama, and it's because of how we've really focused in our growth in the skill training area, the CTE and the skill trades and all of those type of vocational trainings.
Going back to Jeff State, what is the long-term projection of Jeff State? It's got a vital role. Is it serving mostly Shelby and Jefferson County kids?
Well, they kind of split Jefferson County, but you also, on the west side of Birmingham, you also have Lawson State,
Lawson.
That's
who
right,
does
yep.
a great job.
Oh, they do a
and they're
wonderful
growing,
job.
and so both our presidents and their staffs, they do a really good job being plugged into all those communities. But we believe that because of workforce that, we're going to continue to see growth, and students are going to see value in what we're offering them.
Absolutely. Because, Steve, it leads to really sustainable wage jobs. In the state of Alabama, we've got wonderful companies in this state that pay really good living wages. And we're very fortunate to have these companies. So we want to make sure that we keep the companies in here, but making sure we have a skilled, qualified workforce.
Well, talking about when you say workforce, that's exactly what we're talking about, is that, and that's what the governor and all the legislators had this big hoorah rally about the workforce development program, because y'all have got to be a vital part of that.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, and that shows me that legislators understand.
They do.
They're beginning to understand. Well, they've got them in their community.
That's right.
I mean, everybody got something they got to take care of, and
That's right.
Well, that's where the jobs are.
That's right.
That is where the jobs are.
Yeah.
Especially in places where the growth is.
Yep.
We are we're getting primed and ready. They had big press conference, and the governor's office and lieutenant governor's office, along with us, have so many conversations.
That's right.
Of where we are going in workforce, and we got a ways to go, but we are working hard to get there, and it's good to have good partners, and folks starting to realize that, hey, we're the place, because we're in pretty much every county in this state and can provide training and help. Go back to the career roadmap. We're now over 30,000 students in high school are taking college classes with us right now. So those students are on that pathway and can continue to it with us, but a lot of them go to our four-year partners, which is also part of our mission. Let's get them to our four-year partners. So we're kind of that bridge in between, and Chancellor Baker, this, he's going to make sure we do that well.
That's right. Yeah. And Steve, let me add to that a little bit, because it really dovetails with what Chris is talking about. But we also have a population of adults out there that certainly needs to be reskilled or upskilled. Some of them may have dropped out of high school, or they may have finished high school, but they really haven't been able to go beyond just a minimum wage job. So we're really focused in the state of Alabama at getting those people back into the pipeline. So through adult education, I oversee adult education. Last year we served over 27,000 people in the state of Alabama.
Is that included in your 150,000?
Well, some of that is not included. So that 155,000 plus you have the
those
adult education.
27,000 are not really counted, the 150,000.
Not all of them are, because some of them are co-enrolled, but some of them are not.
Well, tell me this. Now, how do you let people know there's adult education? Does the average person, like, what age do they start? Now, tell me about that. How, when say guys have been working in a minimum wage job, and what age do they wake up and say, well, I need to go back and get an education degree so I can increase my income?
We serve people, Steve, from the age of 16. So when you drop out at 16, 17, if you're no longer required to be enrolled in school, we can work with you. But the majority of what we work with is 18 and older. And really, when you look at the average age, it's around 34, 35 years of age.
That. Yeah, 34, 35.
That's right. So bulk of it is probably 18 to 35, and then we've got individuals older than that as well. So because, if you look at it, we had someone last year that was 90 years old that attained their GED. You just think about that for a minute. They wanted to go back, and they wanted to attain high school equivalency, and they were able to do that.
Now, do you offer that at every one of the 24 campuses? Adult education?
We have 24 programs through the state of Alabama for adult education. 22 of them is through the community colleges, and then we also have a couple that's community-based organizations, and then we also have a state agency, Alabama Institute for Deaf and Blind, that we contract as well.
The AIDB is part of the 24 campuses?
Well, it's not part of the 24 campuses, but we provide funding through adult education to help them work with their student population.
So we get a lot of there.
We get a lot there, and we actually had a press conference last week with the Department of Rehabilitation Services where we are really solidifying our relationship with them. And there were some rules and processes that have been changed that will allow more people with disabilities to go into our education and skill training programs. So we're about getting everyone prepared for the workforce.
Now,
No
how
matter
many
if you have
students
a
are in that in
disability
your
or
adult
not.
education, you think? You said 27,000?
27,000 last year. We had
Wow.
over 27,000 that we got
Yeah,
served.
I bet nobody really realizes
Yeah.
that. Back to my original question, how do they find out that that's available? I mean,
Well-
a guy really is going working like, a minimum wage job, and he says, who told him about this available?
Well, we're constantly marketing what we're doing in the community college system. So you'll see our colleges that will market their services, and they also market adult education. The system, we're constantly putting communication out about what we do. And then we also depend on our partners out there. We work very closely with the Department of Commerce, Department of Labor, Department of Human Resources, Department of Corrections, Pardons and Parole, and those other agencies.
Oh, yeah.
To get the word out
y'all,
about what
when
we
the
do.
guys-
So we're in the prison as well, Steve.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're learning about it as they get out of prison, and they go into adult education. Can you do an adult education in the prison too?
Yes, you can, Steve.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, we actually have prison education programs where we have adult education working toward a high school diploma or GED or basic skills. We also have employability skills training, and then we offer skill training programs in the prison as well. And we're serving right now around 3,000 in the prison
Prisons.
population.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're actually trying
Is
to
it
grow
through
that.
one of the schools like
It is. It's
Swindon
through
does?
Ingram.
Ingram
Yep.
does it. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, President Funderburk is the president of
Okay.
Ingram and does that program. So.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, but we got to do this again, because our time's up and it goes by so fast.
It does.
Boy, I've learned a lot just talking to y'all. I thank y'all for taking time to do this.
Thanks, Steve.
I really do. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Steve.
We need to do this more often.
Agreed.
Maybe in a few months, have y'all back and do another one, and
Okay.
see what legislation comes out of this workforce development and what part y'all will play in that.
Okay.
It's just a big thing for the governor.
It is. It
Big
is.
thing for the governor.
Good stuff.
We thank y'all a lot. We thank David and Chris for being our guests tonight with the community college system, and we thank you viewers for watching. Hope you'll tune in again next week for Alabama Politics. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for doing this.